How do we overcome disappointment on the mat and find the determination and resilience to come back and do it again? Welcome to Beauty and the Gi, the podcast about jiu-jitsu and so much more. I'm Jen Eads, a blue belt, very irritated with myself because I forgot to bring mic stands. So if you're watching this, that's why we're holding the microphones. And I have still lots of curiosity and questions about jiu-jitsu. So at least I've got that. I brought that with me.
You brought the curiosity,
I brought the curiosity.
Questions at least. Yes.
Yeah.
And if you'd rather watch us, you can check out our YouTube.
Yeah.
Which is youtube.com/Beauty and the Gi. Beauty and the Gi podcast.
Yes.
I almost said Beauty and the Geest. I don't know what happened to my brain there. It's fine.
I don't know. I mean, are we going to turn into geese?
I don't think so.
Okay. The way things are going?
Maybe.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not out of the realm
I
of
would like to
possibility.
fly south for the winter.
Yeah. I'm down for that, for sure.
But if you're looking to listen, you are in the right place. I am AJ Klingerman, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt obsessed with Jiu-Jitsu. And maybe this book, since this is our third podcast on it.
I know. Well, and as I told you before we started recording this, I feel like this is a confession. This is the first book I've actually read the whole thing in I don't know how long. I have so many books that I've started on my Kindle. I've got books on my nightstand, but this is the first one that I've actually finished in a long time. And the only reason I finished it is because we were podcasting about it.
Yeah.
And what book are we reading?
We are reading The Mental Edge by Kenneth Baum with Richard Trubo. So I highly recommend you go back and listen to the last two episodes as well.
Yeah, if you haven't.
If you haven't already, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's talking a lot about just the mental side of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I found it even very helpful for off the mat.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Same.
For my off the mat jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. Life jiu-jitsu.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot of good information and kind of different subjects. So
yeah.
Today we're going to talk about coming back from disappointment and loss, and
because we are recording this after Master Worlds.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of happy people and a lot of disappointed people.
Yeah. Something I want everyone to stop and think about is that 50% of everyone that goes to Worlds loses their first match. 50%. That's huge.
Yeah.
Some people are fortunate enough to go on and lose a second match.
Yeah.
Because like at Worlds or at any federation tournament, it's single elimination. But if you're in a 3-person bracket, sometimes you get a second match. So like when I did Worlds a couple years ago, I had the privilege of losing both my matches. And because it was a 3-person bracket, I still got to go on and do the open and lose a third match. So that was a day.
So you were still winning.
Because I just kept getting to lose. Just what we all want to do.
Oh, God.
I mean, they say you either win or you learn.
Yeah.
Which I think is crap. Because I think you can learn a lot from your wins as well.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. I think no matter what, you learn.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you overcome that disappointment?
Okay. We've talked about it before, but like I try to say you get 24 hours to either celebrate or mourn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair.
You can wallow in it. You can celebrate, whatever. You have 24 hours though. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's important because you can't let it go on to affect you forever. You can make changes from it or whatever, but you can't be depressed about it.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, I think also, and then the flip side of that being, and you can't just ride on that
high forever.
Yeah.
Well, and if you go back to our starting episodes or somewhere in the beginning, I was introducing myself as I'm AJ Klingerman, a world champion, blah, blah, blah. And then at some point I dropped that off. Yeah. And Risser was the first one to ask me, like, why don't you introduce yourself as a world champion anymore? And I'm like, it's kind of over. That was, at this point, that was a purple belt, right. That was a while ago.
Yeah. And I am going to share the episodes that we have been referencing because I knew we would.
Excellent.
So episode 175, what do you do when you want to quit jujitsu? Threw that one in there just for funsies. And then episode 47, don't let comparisons steal your jujitsu joy. I will link to those in the description and show notes.
Excellent. Excellent. One of the things that I earmarked in my book that is tons of little post-it notes.
Yeah.
Is events have no meaning except what you give them.
So true.
And I think that, people time and time again feel like they're going to disappoint their coach or their teammates or whatever. But even if you crap the bed, I'm not disappointed. I'm only disappointed if you're a bad sport.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that before. Actually, we have 2 episodes on what to expect competing at a federation tournament specifically. And we talk about that's the one way you can embarrass me is by being a bad sport. But otherwise, I don't care if you win or lose.
Yeah.
I just want to see you try. I want to see you get better in the preparation for competing. Not speaking from a coach standpoint. I also compete a lot or have in the past.
Yeah.
This will be my first year that I will not compete. So I understand the sadness in a loss as well. But you know what? Every time I lost, I came back to training on Monday and no one really cared.
Yeah.
They wanted to ask about my experience. They wanted to ask, what happened, but they don't care that I lost.
I think it's funny how we think everybody's going to care. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. They care about if you're, sad about it or whatever.
Right.
But they don't care that you lost. You went out and did it. All the easy matches stayed home.
Yeah.
No. I mean, if everybody went out and competed, then you definitely might win some. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying you won't win some. I'm just saying it's okay to lose. 50% of the people that stepped on those mats lost their first match.
Yeah.
And most of them lost at some point.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
What else you got highlighted in there?
So many things.
There was a lot.
There really was. I did highlight the limitations are temporary. And he says, as frustrating as plateaus and apparent limitations may be in a sport, they can become launching pads to the next level of achievement.
Yeah.
And, like a good example of that would be, like maybe you go to a local tournament or one of the opens, like something that feels like a smaller, easier tournament, which they never are. Quick aside, I want you to remember some people can't afford to go to Worlds, right? Some people can't take that time off work, whatever that is. So for some people, the Fuji is their Worlds.
Yeah.
Right? So don't feel like it's just going to be an easier match. But sometimes it's a little easier for you because maybe you didn't travel for it or it's less expensive or whatever. But you go and you try out your game plan. You kind of knock the dust off. You work your nerves out, whatever. And you can use that as a launching pad for your next tournament. You can use it to figure out where the holes in your game are, what, you tried that didn't work, if you could hear your coach, any of those things.
Yeah.
Like, I think even a loss can be used as a launching pad for what's next. Another thing I kind of highlighted is if you find yourself trapped beneath a seemingly impenetrable glass ceiling, desire is your greatest ally. So I kind of relate this to I did a couple Instagram posts recently where I was talking about you can't be both successful or in a success mindset and a survival mindset. You have to at least have the desire to go out and win, the desire to be successful, not just the desire to go out and survive the match.
That's a huge mind shift.
It is huge because so many people are just like, I just want to go out and survive.
Yeah.
I can promise you're not going to win with that attitude.
I would like to share with you, I don't know if you heard it, but when I was doing a round today and I was tired of being where I was stuck. And I said, Tawanda.
Oh man, I didn't hear it.
I didn't quite get to where I wanted, but I got in a better spot.
Nice.
Yeah. I was pretty excited about
Excellent.
that.
Yeah. Battle cry. I still haven't figured out what my battle cry is.
Yeah.
So if you have suggestions,
Get on that.
Yeah, comment them. What should my battle cry be? Because I need one.
I think it's going to come to you.
That's true. But like maybe somebody will spark a thought in me.
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You heard it. You've heard the call, friends. Leave the comments.
Leave the comments. When you said you heard the call, I think the call's coming from inside the house.
It is.
Come on, AJ. Think what you want your battle cry to be. So this was the main thing that actually kind of gave me the desire for doing a third podcast on this.
Okay.
Was this kind of paragraph here. So if you are reading along, this is, or if you want to highlight this section for yourself, this is page 40 of The Mental Edge. The very bottom, he says, what should you do when you haven't competed as well as you'd hoped? Ask yourself what you have done differently. There will be something. Examine your attitude, preparation time, and pregame warm-up. The seeds of non-winning performance may be sown before you even begin to play. What can you draw from the losing performance to help you do better next time? There was a post within the last week on the Women's Grappling Network, I think. One of the women's pages. And it was an anonymous post, and she was saying she just had a terrible tournament. She lost. She felt like she should be demoted maybe twice. So she has to be at least a purple belt. And that she's had losses before, but this was just different. So I commented, which I don't think she's replied to, but I did comment like, what was different in your life maybe? You know, he says the seeds of non-winning performance may be sown before you even begin to play.
Yeah.
And that could be what's going on at work, what's going on at home, you know, like where are the stresses that could bleed over onto the mat. Your performance that day is not just about that day.
Right.
It can be about so much more. So I think taking the time to like think about what that is and not allowing that one performance to kind of just take you out.
Well, I feel like it's one day, and certainly not to minimize it, because it sucks to go
Absolutely.
all that way and put in all that work and lose the first round. That sucks.
It does. Yep.
But it's also, it's one day out of all of these days of preparation.
Yeah.
And, you know, you always say you can't quit on a bad day.
That's right.
So I just feel like there's a lot to, like he says, you know, we give the meaning.
Yeah.
So we have that power to switch,
Yeah.
even though it's hard because I struggle with it.
Yeah.
But we do have that power inside of us to give it the meaning. Maybe it was a big day of horrible, awful lessons to be learned.
Yeah.
Then that's what it is.
And, you know, sometimes we give that meaning or that weight even just to a round in the gym.
Never done such a thing.
I'm looking at her.
Never done such a thing. Silliness.
Why would we do such a thing? But it's true, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we put way too much weight on just a single round. And we feel, or a single night, you know, like there are definitely nights where I leave and I'm like, do I even know jujitsu? Right?
Yeah.
But it's just one night. It's just the meaning we give it. And, you know, if you sit back and you think, what else is going on? Why did I feel so bad today? Because it probably wasn't really whatever happened on the mat.
Oh my God, you sound like my wife. It's always, because she's always like, I tell her what I think is wrong, and she's like, no, what's really wrong? And then she's asking questions. I'm like, you know, and then like an hour later, we finally get to what the root cause of my angry trollness
Don't you
is.
feel better though once you get to the root cause?
Depends on what it is.
So sometimes bringing it up makes you like, ugh.
Yeah. Sometimes there was a reason it was buried. Maybe it should have stayed there.
I'm going to disagree. Siding with Beth on this one.
Not surprised at all.
But I think, you know, you can't deal with it if it stays buried,
That's true.
right? You can't. But another thing that he pointed out is, remember, Babe Ruth struck out 1,330 times on his way to hitting 714 home runs. That's almost double the amount of strikeouts as home runs.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yep. Can't win if you don't play.
Yeah.
And if you're going to play, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
That's part
That's
of
a
it.
lot of getting my guard passed.
That's a lot of getting your guard passed, right? Yep.
And failed sweeps.
But it's trying.
It is.
That's the lab.
I do feel like I've been trying more things later.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least there's that.
Yeah. Do you think most of the time when you walk through the door, you know if you're going to have good rounds or bad rounds?
Today, I think because we've been reading this and I knew I had to talk about it, I feel like I was more intentional.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's how bad was the traffic? Like that's the energy I bring or what was going on work-wise or at home. But today I was actually very intentional. And I don't know that it helped.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like a day.
I mean,
It's just a day.
It's just a day. That
Just
is
a
true.
day.
That is true. It is just a day. But I think practicing the intention in the classroom setting
Yes.
is going to help you with intention in the competition setting.
Agreed.
Like whether you're competing or not. But like practicing that positive mindset is going to help when you get into a bigger match on the, like a role where you're like, man, this person always beats me up. But
Yeah.
today I'm going to try and do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in that situation for me, it's going back to one thing. Like, what is one thing I can do? And maybe it's just if they're exhausted and don't get a submission, that's a win for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Finding the little wins.
Yeah.
That's an important part too of like coming back from a loss, right? Is going through and seeing, okay, what did I do well? And
Yeah.
sometimes that might just be, you know what? My nerves weren't as bad this time as they were last time.
Yeah. That's a big win.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, that's
Absolutely.
a big win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I figured out, what kind of playlist I like to listen to
Yeah.
before. Like you can just take even the smallest wins. I didn't throw up beforehand. Whatever it is.
Fantastic.
I made weight. I don't know. Whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
just knowing those little things that you can then build on.
Yeah.
Going up Diamond Head. Build
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
And be more successful next time.
So what do you do when you just can't get out of your head about it?
So it's after the loss.
Yeah, after the loss.
Tell me about it. What do you mean you can't get out of your head? Like what's keeping you there?
The love of just continuously beating myself up. The habit. I think a lot of time, because in the instances where I have competed, I've lost way more than I've won. And it's never, for me, I'm done within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like I soak in that. I let it marinate for probably like a good week or so.
Yeah. What does it matter? Who cares that you lost? Do you think anyone in here remembers any of your matches?
No.
I'm your coach. Do you
But
think I really
I
remember that
do.
much of your matches? Right. But what did it matter in the end?
Nothing. I mean, I'm over them now because, it's been years. But
Okay. It was just yesterday when she got over it, but she's over it as of now.
over it now.
I mean, I have had matches that I've sobbed afterwards. Like
Yeah.
really, I cry after wins and losses, but
Yeah.
there have been matches where I really took it hard. But at the end of the day, it's just jujitsu.
Yeah.
Very few of us are doing this as a paid position.
Right.
Like it is my job. Jiu-jitsu is my job. But also competing isn't.
Right.
So even still, I'm not getting paid for the competition portion. In fact, I'm paying a lot of money, as we all do. And it's just jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change what I know. It doesn't change that I'm a good coach.
Yeah.
I think you just have to remind yourself that you are still who you are. And that loss is just that. It's just 5 minutes that didn't go your way. And I try really hard to not allow 5 minutes of my life to hurt weeks of my life. I don't want that 5 minutes, and I know that that can be hard. There's lots of things that like we could talk about on a deeper level that, trauma that like comes up in your body that you don't even like really recognize. But for the most part, this isn't trauma, right? This is just jujitsu.
Yeah.
And you could be really good at jujitsu and that person was just better than you that day. That's
the way it goes.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes. You know what the best thing to do is?
Are you going to say do jujitsu?
Go out and do it again. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, my purple belt career is where I competed the most because it like brown was like pandemic and black I've had, I don't want to talk about how many surgeries. So, my purple belt career and blue belt, I competed a ton at blue, but my purple belt career, my first competition, I won no-gi worlds. And then I lost the next 15 competitions.
Oh my God.
And then I won gi pans. And then I got my brown belt. So it was like those losses didn't define me. I could keep going. I could learn from them and just figure out how to do better. Shake it off and step up. Do it again.
Something he talked about towards the end of the book, which I know since I got there.
Got to the end of the book. I haven't.
That was a win for me. Such a win. Is he talked about keeping the joy in it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that we talk a lot about. Like if you've lost it, you better go find it, or you better figure out what is that reason that's going to keep you coming back.
Yeah.
Where do you find the joy?
Jiu-jitsu is meant to be joyful. I had a student that had trained somewhere else and came and he was just like, I like it here because it is joyful. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's okay to laugh. It's okay to, like one of my guys took control of the music last night and I came onto the mat and we were listening to ABBA.
Nice.
For like 45 minutes. I just let him play ABBA. Like that's what he wanted to do. Great.
I'm here for it.
I don't like ABBA. Oh my God. Here's the thing. You can play like one song and I'm fine, but you play 45 minutes. And I didn't change it, to be fair. He did change it after 45 minutes. It wasn't me and I didn't make one single complaint. But between me, you, and everyone listening,
Good
not
to
my
know.
jam. I'm not a disco kind of girl. So
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's okay. I'm sorry. But jiu-jitsu is supposed to be fun. Even if you're in a real competition gym, I assume you're there because you want to compete and you want to, work hard, but it still should be fun. It still should be a release, right? Like the world is hard. Everything out there, like home life can be hard. Work can be hard. You can't watch TV or scroll the social media without it just being hard. There's so much crap going on. Jiu-jitsu should be joyful. It should be your escape.
It's also a privilege, I feel like.
It absolutely is a privilege.
I think, I don't know if we talked about it on here, but I was listening to a podcast.
That's how we start half our sentences.
Every
That or I saw a TikTok video.
That's basically, that is it. And the guy was talking about how if you woke up and you were 90 years old, but you got to go back and relive this day again, and I got to go do jiu-jitsu, I would be like, yeah. I would be so excited.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to bring that excitement and gratitude and like, oh, this is a privilege that I can be in this body at this point and get to go do this.
Yep.
Especially because like I have not been feeling it.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. So to get to do it is a good thing.
Yeah. And I think that we sometimes realize that even more when we go through hardships, right? Like not being able to roll right now is so freaking hard for me.
Oh,
and
I can't imagine.
I find it spilling over to the rest of my life, right? Like
that sucks.
I am coming in and teaching and that kind of stuff, but I am missing out on some of the joy of getting to actually do jiu-jitsu.
It's fun to beat us up, isn't it?
It is. I really miss smashing my friends.
I'm not missing that. I'm not missing that one bit. No.
You don't miss my serenades or anything?
I mean, I miss, but my knees and my eyeballs, no.
Yesterday,
I'm not missing that.
That's true. Knees and the eyeballs.
Not missing.
Yesterday, my physical therapist was like, I mean, this could take up to a year. And I was like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, God. Don't cry. But at least I still get to be here, right? Like there are people that are struggling with their home life, or, you know, maybe some people out there that are struggling with their finances or whatever. And so they're not able to take part in the privilege that is getting to do jujitsu.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us take that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So try to remember that. As a gym owner, I try as much as I can to help people through those times.
Yeah.
Whether it's the financial hardship or, you know, like an injury. Like I really encourage people to go into the gym, even if you're injured, and just sit and take notes, you know, watch. It can be really hard, but it's still a privilege. It's still a privilege to get to spend that time with your friends, with your teammates, being a part of something you love.
He also talks about, I like this, 6 steps to keep a winning attitude.
Ooh. Let's hear them.
These are really good. And some of these I feel like we talk about pretty regularly anyway. Number 1, we should write a book.
We should.
Let go of your ego. That's number 1, which also I think ties into let go of your attachment to the outcomes.
Mm-hmm. I've called people out on that a little bit when they have some ego about losing. And it's like, do you just absolutely think that the person you fought was trash? Do you think you're so much better than them? You know, like this is when they get real extreme, right? I'm not just like in someone's face, you know, but if they're
She's never said it to me.
Jen, do you feel like, but honestly, like it is, you have to have some ego to go out and compete 100%. You have to at least believe that you can win. At the same time, you have to let go of the outcome, right? Sometimes people are just better.
I'm just not paying all that money to go out there and survive.
That's right. You're going to go be successful.
That's right. Number 2 was keep your sense of humor. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Especially at jiu-jitsu, because it can feel very like...
Yep. Last night we were also talking about, there was some guy on Instagram from Florida a few months back that was like, I don't like women that come in and giggle when they do jiu-jitsu. And our guy Ian was like, I'm pretty sure every round I do with Justin, we end in giggling. Like something ridiculous has happened. It's not just the women.
That's so funny.
But yeah, you have to have some humor in it. We get into a lot of weird positions for there not to be some humor.
That's true. So true. Number 3 is view change as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
People say they don't like change, but they do like opportunities, don't they?
They do. And everything changes. Like our whole life is change.
Absolutely.
We were kind of built for that.
Yep, we were.
Yeah. It's how we evolve.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, whatever. Science. Number 4, decide in advance what you want. I think that's a good one.
I like that.
Set your intention. Know what you want before you walk in the door.
Yep.
Or before you start the round.
Yeah.
Number 5, temporary letdowns are normal.
And temporary.
Temporary being the key word there.
Yeah.
Look at that, coach. You find all the jiu-jitsu and all the important words. And then number 6 is take some time off.
Yeah. If you need to like heal your wounds kind of thing, those can be mental.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or go, you know what? If you lose, then go do something. Go do that other thing that brings you joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go do that for a minute.
Yeah.
Or a day or whatever.
Right. Get out and do something else for a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's good to, you know, change things up a little bit.
Change? What? That sounds like an opportunity.
It does, doesn't it? So I like those 6 things a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
I think those are very helpful.
Yeah.
What else do you have to add to this?
Just one quick thing about the take time off. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, I don't want you to take too much time off.
Right.
Like we're talking
Not years.
Exactly.
Not months.
But if you've taken a long time off, know that the mats and the people will always welcome you back. And if they don't, go somewhere else, right? I was texting with a few of my friends in the last couple of days that like haven't trained in a couple years. And it's just like, I don't know if you miss jujitsu, but jujitsu misses you.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. I just want to make people know that we miss them when they're gone. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. That's so true.
If I didn't see you for a whole week and you weren't on vacation, I don't know what I'd do. I would be like showing up at your house. I have shown up at a student's house before.
Really?
Yeah.
This does not even surprise me.
She didn't come in for several days. She wasn't answering my texts.
Yeah.
And I have her address. So
yeah.
I knocked on her door and her daughter answered. And I was like, is your mother here? And can I see that she's alive? And she was struggling. Like she did need somebody to come in and be like, okay, what can we do? Let's get you up and moving. And
sometimes you got to do that.
Sometimes.
It's good to have those good teammates.
Yeah. So if you have a teammate you haven't seen recently, like reach out to them. Let them know that they are missed. Because when they just hear from me, like obviously, it feels nice that the coach missed you, but like they're like, oh, do you just want my money? Is that why? Like you might have that in the back of your head at least. But like when a teammate reaches out, it's just that. It's just that they miss you. So be sure to reach out to people. We talk a lot, especially during camp and stuff, about how much people struggle and how much jujitsu can truly change and save lives. And if someone in your gym is struggling, all they might need is to hear from people.
Right.
Know that somebody cares. Know that somebody notices they're missing.
Yeah.
This took a turn, but
it did.
It's important.
It really did.
It's important.
Yeah. So if you're in a funk this week, what would you encourage someone to do?
Find the joy in your jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
We talk about this too with competition prep. I really think you should have one class a week that is meant for being the Hoshin. Yeah. Meant for fun, right?
And for anyone listening in Terre Haute.
In Terre Haute.
People from Terre Haute are Hoshins.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay. All right. Well,
for any of my ISU friends.
Okay. Not what I mean.
Exactly.
It's a night for fun, right? So I really encourage like my competitors that are like preparing for a gi tournament to come in on no gi night because that's a good switch. You're not thinking about your game plan as much. You can do stuff that's above your pay grade, do some toe holds, do some knee bars.
Yeah.
Just do some silly stuff and just have a night that's joyful so that you feel better in your comp prep.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you do very specific diets, you're counting macros, whatever.
Yeah.
They tell you, take a meal off and just eat whatever you want. Not whatever, but you know what I mean? Just don't think about it, right? And when I did that, when I was like really cutting weight to compete, which I don't do anymore, but when I was doing that, I would, gain a pound or two after that meal, and then I'd lose even more because I needed that respite. I needed that break. So as a business coach, my coach always told me the more vacations you take, the more money you make.
Yeah.
Because you get out of your head a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same thing. So like take a night or a class or whatever and just be joyful in your jiu-jitsu and then come back and train hard.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I wrote, write it down. Sometimes just writing down, at least for me, it helps.
Yeah.
It's like journaling.
Ugh. Getting to the root of it. It sounds like she's agreeing with Beth now.
Because it works. I mean, as much as I hate to say that, and she is always right, it works. Just getting it on a piece of paper and out of my head.
Yep.
Then that whole like ask why 5 times. What is that?
What is that? I have no idea.
Okay. So we've got sound effects now. Amazing. Oh, because I was saying drilling down, and I think the universe was trying to provide drill down sound effects.
Oh, that's
fun. What that was.
Nice job.
Jedi mind tricks.
Very cool.
And podcasting. So write it down and then find some joy.
Yeah, good. I like it.
Yeah, I feel like that works for on and off the mat.
I think so too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, friends, thanks for tuning in. If you've been watching on YouTube, hi. And if you're listening in your car, Hello, friends.
Hello.
You can hang out with us on Instagram at Beauty and the Gi Podcast. I'm also there at Brassy Broad Jen.
You want to promote your new TikTok?
Oh, so Beth and I, because I feel like she's almost a part of this podcast because she does get mentioned a lot. We started a new TikTok. It's called at Boomer Beth and Jen X, Jenx. There's some shenanigans happening on our TikTok. If you want to see what life is like, but if you want to see what life is like off the mat, and Beth's really the cool one.
She is. She's the mayor.
She is the mayor.
Yes. And I'm AJ Klingerman everywhere you go, except TikTok, where I am roll_model. And I could not get that to change. So here we are.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, friends. And we will see you
on the mat.
Beauty and the Gi is a production of the Brassy Broadcasting Company.
And brought to you by Role Model Grappling. Dun, 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 dun.